What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mo Buckets podcast. My name is Hoodie Ben. To my right, we got Jimmy Buckets. What's good?
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, fam? And then to his right, we got the Vision. Frankie Vision. What's good?
What's good? What's good?
And lastly, rounding it off, we got the Magic Man, Magic Mitch.
What up? What up?
Yo, man, how you guys feeling?
Good times, man.
Cold day in Toronto.
So cold, man. Yeah, I feel for Jeremy Lin, man. Jeremy Lin and Marc Gasol coming to Toronto.
Yo, Kawhi Leonard definitely ain't stayed for this, man. He's like, I ain't used to this cold weather.
It's okay. He can have a summer home or winter home.
Man,
He's got to embrace that winter cottage life, man, in Canada. We'll see if you can embrace it.
Yep. All right, cool. So we got, we'll try to bring some heat, keep everybody warm on this segment. Let's jump into this, man. The Mo Buckets of the week. We got the Orlando Magic on this one. They are 7-3 in their last 10, and they are now in the playoff race. Who would have thought, man, if someone said at the beginning of the season that we'd have the Magic at the 8th spot right now in the playoff race? Like, wow. Like, I'd be surprised, man. But they've been super impressive as of late. They got huge W's against Indiana, Golden State, Toronto, Milwaukee. So teams that are, elite right now, they're really stepping up. But, obviously they've they're still the Magic, man. They got losses against Cleveland, New York, Chicago, which is, I guess, expected for a young team. But overall, man, they're looking really impressive. They're 9th in the league in defense right now. For a team that hasn't made the playoffs since 2012, these guys are, they're looking to make a move. They got guys that have been stepping up. Their coach, Steve Clifford, he deserves a lot of credit. Even just putting them to the spot that they're at right now. We got, All-Star Vucevic, Jonathan Isaac, T. Rose, former Raptor, killing it this year. What do you guys think, man? How the Magic looking to you guys?
I think they're probably one of the most surprising teams in the East this year.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back at our power rankings before the season, we had them second last. So the fact that they're in the playoffs, I mean, I think it shows we didn't see this coming. I don't think many people saw this coming. Mm-hmm. But it's actually pretty exciting to see that, after so many years of being so bad, especially after all the Dwight Mayer stuff, like, the fact that they're actually competing for the playoffs is a huge thing for that team.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing for the franchise. Like you mentioned, there just hasn't been much success there in the last few years. It's good to see them finally turn around. And hey, like we mentioned, looking at the roster, they also have Markelle Fultz on the bench. So hey, maybe there's some potential for the future years.
Boss,
just say right.
Boss.
If anyone can do it, it's the world of Orlando Magic, right?
If Fultz pans out,
dude, how good that pair would be.
Their weakness is at the point guard. Like DJ Augustine's been doing pretty good, but he's obviously not a long-term option there. If Fultz, if he reaches potential,
if magic things happen, right? Who knows, right? You never know.
There's a lot of ifs with Markelle Fultz, man.
If pigs can fly, seriously. But honestly, I want to give the Magic props for playing like a good stretch of basketball. But then again, if you look at them, they have losses against Cleveland, New York, and Chicago. The bottom 3 teams in the East, but then they get wins by the top teams, right? So it's like, what's going on? How can you play so well against like the top teams and then play down to your competition on the teams that you're supposed to get your easy wins from?
Yo, they're still trying to decide. Do they want to tank and go for Zion, or do they want to go all in, man? That's what it is.
Yo, but they're just activating well, right? Like to Jimmy's point on some of the stats, Vucevic has just been stepping up the last 2 months. Like 25
whole
points
season.
in March,
whole season,
10.
man.
Yo, but he's just stepping up at the right time too. I think coming into like this last stretch, these last February, March, he's been putting up the best numbers of the whole year. Good for him.
I think like an underrated move that the organization made was they got the GM who created the Bucks as we know them, John Hammond. He found Giannis. He drafted Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the players that they've been drafting, like Jonathan Isaac is a super long player that kind of reminds you of Giannis in a way. I'm not saying he's going to be Giannis, but he definitely has so much potential, and he's like super long, quick.
Good NBA body.
You can see the type of guys that they're trying to recreate that Bucks team.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're competing for the playoffs this year already,
Yeah.
I mean, it shows they're doing pretty well.
It's true, and yeah, even I think we quickly talked about, but like T. Ross too. Like I think a player that we talk about that has limited potential coming in the league. You know, we as Raptors fans know, man, this guy's always had the athleticism, but this year he's really starting to put it together. His 3-point shooting numbers are going up. He's slashing well. He's I think he's slowly learning to be more consistent on the offensive end, which is
Isn't it his contract year? So
probably.
I'm pretty sure he's trying to ball out just to get paid, right?
Yeah, who is it
Watch.
though? Who is it?
I can guarantee you, after this year he gets paid, he's gonna go back to the T. Ross that we know.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed. But this year he's playing well.
Do you guys remember that last season that Dwight was there, when they traded or they signed Gilbert Arenas to that crazy deal, and then that was the same year where Dwight got Stan Van Gundy fired on. Remember in the media, they were doing an interview, and then Dwight was basically like,
He
"Oh,
literally
like,
walks into the interview.
yeah, he's like,
right
these
as
are all
Stan
these
Van Gundy's
rumors,"
finishing.
and then
Stan Van Gundy
yeah.
says, "Yup, Dwight got me fired, pretty much," and then he leaves, and then Dwight's like, all the reporters just ask him, "Did you just get him fired?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." It was the most awkward.
like they went from making the NBA like a finals team
With Hito?
with Hito. They
With
beat
Hito, yeah.
LeBron.
He was nice, man, in the finals for them. He came up clutch.
He did.
And then
Yeah.
Toronto pays him money. And look what happened. Right?
That was brutal.
But that's like what 7 years
Yeah.
since then.
Yo, man, Magic fans, yo, we feel for you. Yo.
Yeah, that's
Y'all,
the last
y'all
time
have
they're
been,
relevant,
y'all have
man.
seen some dark times, man. But you know what? Listen, hopefully you guys make it to the playoffs this year, and get destroyed by the Raptors in the first round.
So,
So,
but big ups for getting more buckets of the week, right?
Yo,
Good for them.
yo,
who
for
who
sure.
would have thought? I don't know how many times we would have thought that they would have
Sure,
gotten
man.
a win for the week.
yep. And all right, let's flip it up now. We got the no buckets of the week. This one, dude. This one we got Hollywood written all over it, man. This is the Los Angeles Lakers. These guys are just looking atrocious out there right now, man. They're 3-7 in their last 10, and now they've slipped all the way down to 10th in the West. They had terrible losses against the Clippers, to the lowly Suns, man. That was terrible. They lost to Milwaukee. It was a close game, but they collapsed in the fourth against Milwaukee. They lost to Memphis. They lost to the Pelicans. And then it took a LeBron three-pointer to win the second time they faced the Pelicans. So they're just breaking down all over the place. They are now 5.5 games out from the 8th. So you're talking about those playoff chances just kind of it's down to slim essentially now. They're at 0.1% chance of making the playoffs, according to Basketball Reference there. And, LeBron publicly came out. He verbally said, listen, it's time to activate my playoff mode. They are now 2-5 since he said that. So, he's visibly upset. He's venting to the media. We're hearing now Luke Walton is, possibly going to be fired at the end of the season. Would not be surprised. So what's going on, man? Like, talk to me. What do you guys got? Like, who's to blame for the struggles? First of all, like, I think everybody's got a little piece of this blame pie, but who takes the biggest hit? Who has to take responsibility? Talk to me.
I don't think there's any. It's hard to put on any of the players.
Oh,
I'm
sure
saying
about
as
that?
the worst. I'm saying I start to say one is worse than the other. I think all the players are at fault. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no player that is more at fault.
I can
it's-
think of some that are more at fault,
Yo,
such
let's
as
get-
LeBron
Okay.
James.
I say it for what it is, man.
Call it out,
don't-
Mitchell. Call it the king. Yo.
don't
Call
hold
So
back.
think about this.
Call
Like,
Frankie.
think about this. Like, LeBron is not a secret. LeBron wanted to trade almost his entire team for Anthony Davis. And then when it didn't happen, these guys have to go and keep playing with the guy that they know tried to trade them. Imagine you're going to work and you're working with someone who knows or who you know doesn't want you there. Who's responsible for making that like toxic environment?
So this is unfortunately what I think, and it's kind of damaging to say this about basketball. I think the problem is LeBron James is so good that the truth is he is better without you. He was doing his best to win. And in order for LeBron to win on what he was on the journey in Los Angeles, there's expected to be a lot of turnover. It's part of the business. This is kind of what happens when you get paid like $40 million a year. and you're expected to win like right now. There's no coast. There's no wait. There's no 1 or 2 year. You sign a 4-year deal. They still expect you to win right now. So that's why you can't. It's not. I get what you're saying. You think LeBron, he's calling for these shots, but it's expected of him from the team. You tell me the Lakers don't put that on him. Hey, LeBron, we want you to win now.
But here's the thing too, like the fact that he said, "Oh, I'm gonna, playoff mode activated." Why are you not trying your hardest in the first place?
You gotta see. Hey, let's be real. We all know there's load management is a real thing. LeBron has been playing to the finals for how many? He has not stopped, and we've seen his body break down. There's a reason why you rest him. There's a reason, right? And I think you can't.
But he's not talking about rest right now. Yeah. You're talking about defense, right? Like there's a difference between load management and you taking off back-to-back games.
You're taking off effort. Like if you're not playing defense, that's in terms of the way he's playing. I totally agree. There's no excuse for that. But I gotta say, man,
but Frankie, there's a big difference between when he was all those other years playing in the East, fighting for seeding, as opposed to fighting to get into the playoffs, right? He needs to activate that. He needs to put that his team on the shoulder, like what James Harden did.
That's true.
When James Harden turned it up, the Rockets were basically out of the playoffs, and he brought him back all the way up to the third seed. Right? That's what he did. That's what it means to be activating that playoff mode.
Yep. And he tried. He tried, right? And like,
has he really?
I think on the West, he's realizing he can't just do it himself, right? And it's unfortunate. You see how the team's composed. They need. First of all, everyone to be healthy, right? With I think Lonzo Ball being injured, that actually played a big.
Yeah,
that affected
we'll
the
give
team
him
a
that.
lot.
Yeah,
because he had to carry the ball. Like you see LeBron playing, from the whole court now. He inbounds everything now. He's running like.
But he always did.
He plays
that.
half the court, frankly.
No, but you know what I mean. He has to control the entire offense. Whereas,
But he always is. But like no matter what,
Lonzo
that's what
Ball
he
actually
does.
ran a lot of the offense before, right? Because he's just up tempo. He would at least run the ball, pass the ball, right? At least you had another. You can't even say Lonzo Ball's a point guard. But that's the best point guard they have on the team outside of LeBron James.
Rajon?
No,
Rajon, he's hurt too. Rajon was
Yeah.
out for a long time too, right? So I think it's tough because you're expecting so much from LeBron.
So what do you? Okay, so let's bring this back. So what are you putting this on? If you're not going to say it's LeBron, who takes the biggest piece? Is it a health thing? Is it like an injury bug?
Frankie already said-
I said it's
Frankie said
expectation.
yeah.
I think it's the fact that with LeBron comes you got to win right
The
now.
expectations, fair.
Like when you
fair.
have that, is actually there's nothing you can do. If you're not going to win, you're going to flame out. You can't not win gracefully. There's no graceful way to end that.
I want to give the blame to Magic. It's his reason.
Ownership
of-
structure. Yep.
Yeah, he put this team together the way he put it. You have the young core, and then the way he built LeBron. You already know the recipe to build around LeBron is put shooters around him. What does he do? He hires 1-year mercenaries
Thugs, yo.
to throw.
These are thugs that will defend LeBron.
You know what I mean? Like these random pieces that do not fit the formula of what a successful LeBron team is. And you put them as 1-year contracts. On paper, it looks good, but that only works if you're winning. But once you're not winning, these 1-year contracts, what are they playing for? Another contract.
True.
So now they're playing for themselves. They're not going to play a team.
They need to shine, right? They need to shine. They need to
They
get
need to get
minutes.
their numbers. They're not going to sacrifice their numbers to better help the team when the team's not winning, right?
Yeah.
It'll only inflate their stats if the team's winning, but they're not. So now they're playing on their own. Same now with the young kids, they feel slighted. What's going to happen? They're not going to play together.
No, what's interesting about that is that it just got reported recently that I guess we all kind of knew that Magic Johnson would be consulting with LeBron James during the summer, right? In terms of like who he wants to pick up. We know for a fact that it was LeBron James that wanted Lance Stevenson, right? So they actually came out to say that LeBron had
that though, man. Like you can't. There's you can't
listen,
substantiate
everything
this
that
stuff.
happens in the Lakers is transparency, man. Everyone sees what's going on with the
Everything's
Lakers
leaked.
organization.
Everything's
Everyone's
100% leaked. Everything's
But
leaked.
but no, to that point is that yes, Magic Johnson went and got those players, but it was in conversation with LeBron James that LeBron said, "Hey, listen, I don't really like the style of play that we had in Cleveland with me just with all shooters.
So
I
let's
want to
get
get
some
other
thugs.
playmakers."
I want to get some thugs.
So
on the team.
no, it's been reported. So that's why they went out and get Rajon Rondo, who's a playmaker, Lance Stevenson, who can create, who can slash, Beasley, who can score in spurts. So
JaVale McGee,
But
right?
look at
JaVale
the
McGee.
players that you named. Beasley's not on the team anymore.
agree.
And to Jimmy's point, if you look at some of the moves that Magic made,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's coming from LeBron or whether it's from Magic, if you're the head of that organization and you're making these decisions, if you know that you're about to make like a really stupid decision just because your best player says to, you gotta. Magic is big enough of a personality to say like, hey, LeBron, like
But
me
that's
handle
LeBron
this.
James, though.
But
Who's really running the
but
show?
look at one of the moves that he made. Like at the trade deadline, Zubac was pretty good.
He actually was feeling
Legitimately,
nice, man.
he
I'm
has
surprised.
potential, and they traded him for Muscala.
Yeah.
He doesn't even play.
Exactly.
They got rid of Brooke Lopez for nothing, so that they could sign Michael Beasley.
Brooke Lopez would have
And Brooke-
perfect perfectly on that
Exactly.
team.
On that team right
Like
now.
it makes
yeah.
no. Some of the moves that Magic has made just they're baffling, and I think any other GM or president basketball operations they would have been fired
Mm-hmm.
for even bringing that up as a possibility of a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And like all those as you're saying, everyone knows what the Lakers are trying to do, their trades or whatever, like offers. If you're a good organization, that stuff doesn't leak. So how is that
Agreed.
stuff being allowed to leak if you are a good leader of the organization?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're in the locker room, right? It's like
Yeah.
everything that happens in the locker room, a minute later, it's on Twitter, it's on something, it gets leaked. It's very different from more respected organizations. Like, think of the Spurs, right? You never hear leaks really going on out of that organization. Even the Raptors, to be honest, have been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think we've been pretty well kept from just overall drama, and we've talked about that in some of our other discussions. But I have a question, though, here. I think, again, all this really comes from the expectation of having a player in LeBron James. So you end up going for these players like Lance Stevenson, like JaVale McGee, like Rajon Rondo, thinking that maybe there's a chance it becomes a home run. Maybe, right? Because all these things, I don't think they could have made any realistic trades for 3-point shooters this year, honestly, that would have fit. So that's what they gambled. They just went all in, right? This is, with LeBron, you go all in. So having said that, I think we're starting to see it all fall, it's all fall to shit. But do you think it's worth it? If you're a team where it's like, you either go all in every year, or you try to build a slow progression to try to win it in the long run. Because you know what I mean? Like, what do you think is better? What's the better outcome?
I mean, the thing is, though, I don't even think the Lakers, like you're saying that they went all in this year. I don't even think they did.
But I think they went for home run shots. Like, they didn't build for the long run, right? They built for just one.
I don't
year
even think
at a time.
those
Those
moves
are-
are home run moves.
That's the
Could've been
best that they
good.
could get.
I
at
think
the
it was
time.
when
Like
they
a
signed
home-
Michael Beasley, I was hyped,
like-
man. I was like,
like
yo,
a home
LeBron
run
James,
move.
Michael Beasley.
A home run move would be getting AD. That's a home run.
They could have got Paul George and
Yeah.
didn't want to give up their pieces.
But I feel like at the beginning of the season, though, those options weren't necessarily there. Like, at the beginning of the season, they didn't really have, most of these players weren't available for trade like the way they are now. And that's why they had to make these obscure signings, right? Like
No, but we just gave them the benefit of the doubt because it's LeBron James, and we
thought he could fix him.
It was gonna work.
LeBron's
right?
going to fix him, right?
They're gonna put him in shape. Like,
Yeah.
Lance Stevenson is a head case.
Yeah.
Beasley's a head case. But then for some reason they'll
The
play
LeBron
together
factor.
with
Yeah.
exactly
Right.
But it didn't work.
Exactly.
So does all this come down to the fact that LeBron, is it an age thing? Is it him just not being able to lead a team like he did in Cleveland? Because you're right. I think so. Like, when you see a player like LeBron, just because of what he did for the Cavs, there's so much that you're like, hey, the fact that you have LeBron James, your margin of error is just increased dramatically because you have a player like that. But
Yeah,
now maybe it's
expectations are high. Yeah.
this season, like we know, like they were fourth. So for a while, like he did have everybody kind of in ship, like in line and everything going into December into the playoffs. Into that playoff run, they were fourth in the West, and then he gets injured. Everything kind of starts to fall apart, and now it's just like he's trying to pick guys back up, but it's like there's all this drama now that's coming in.
I think it's because he's been to the finals so many years that he's already gone through all those different types of situations where I need to, deal with these young people or young kids. I got to deal with, getting to this situation. He's already been through that. So to him, he's like, I'm too old for this shit to put up with, trying to teach these young kids how to win.
Is it worth putting these kids on my back? You know
Right,
what I mean?
you know
I've
what I
already
mean?
put
Like, he's
so
already
many
he's
people
already
on my
so
back.
old. Like he's already put young kids on his back. He's already put Boobie Gibson on his back. Sasha Vujic,
Danielle Marshall.
Danielle Marshall, like
Yeah.
all these kids
Yep.
back then, he wouldn't mind. But now he's gone through all that. He doesn't want to do it.
His window's closing, right? It's
Right.
just, it's not necessarily worth his effort. And that's what I mean before about the expectation of a great player like LeBron James. There's no second best. Like, you only expect greatness from him. And it's too much, man. And I think tied with what you mentioned earlier, the AD trade, I think ever since that all those rumors happened, they just fragmented the locker room. They just never recovered. And it's unfair. It's impossible to be like, yo, LeBron, just put him on your back, man. Go get it. And
But I think I agree with what everyone's saying, and like Jimmy, I think you made a great point in that like I hate to say it because I've been thinking too, and it's just seeing how LeBron, like his whole demeanor now, right? Like when he talks to the media, like he's clearly frustrated. At the end of the games, whenever has like a turnover or one of his teammates does a turnover, he's so visibly frustrated now. It's just like, man, you look at him, you're like, I hate to say it, but I'm like, yo, has this guy gone Hollywood? Like, has he gotten to the point where it's just like, listen, either you guys are with me or like you're out. Yeah, you're against me. It's like his tolerance now is just so low, and that like.
But he should have known
what
what he signed up for when he signed for the Lakers.
And that's exactly what it is. It's the fact that he came in, he said that, listen, like, I know we're not going to win this year. We're going to work through the patience. We're going to work through it step by step.
He didn't mean any of that.
And now when it comes down to it, he's jetting.
Yeah.
Like,
But this is the thing is though, like, you know, I agree that when he came, he had to have known what he's coming into, but he probably also knew that the Lakers would try and get Anthony Davis. I mean, they both have the same agent. He had to have known that. So then the fact that he came in probably expecting to get Anthony Davis at some point during the season, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So now, like, he's just, I would imagine he's just pissed.
Yeah.
Right?
Almost every year, mid-season, there's a big trade where he revamps his whole team, and then he doesn't have to deal with the people he traded, right?
True.
Like, he can be like, hey, ship these guys out, get me a new team, we'll take care of it.
Cavs had a completely different team.
Yeah, like, you know, like when he was on the Cavs, they shipped, they got, like, J.R. Smith, Shumpert.
Yeah.
Who else did they get? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they revamped that whole team.
Yeah.
But this year he had that plan,
It
but it
happen.
didn't fall through, and now he has to deal with what happens, right?
But the thing's like Ingram's balling out.
He has
Like,
been. He has
Ingram's
been.
been balling.
They haven't
Kuzma's
balling.
been good.
They
like,
have pieces, man. They have
Lonzo's
pieces.
hurt.
They've been having spurts. They just haven't executed together. I think that's kind of the problem, right?
Yeah.
And now it's too late though.
And
right?
now it's too late. You know, I saw that was just ridiculously crazy. Like, LeBron James has only missed the playoffs twice. His first two seasons in 2003 and 2004.
And
This-
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Can you imagine?
Got 3 times.
Like, can
now,
this
bro.
be the first time? This is what,
Yeah.
14 years.
And I think that's what, you know, leads to our next question is that, like, where do the Lakers go from here? Because you're looking at their chance of making the playoffs, we said now, is less than 1%. But on the flip side now, their chances of landing a top 4 lottery pick, now that's going up. So that as of right now, they have a 4.5% chance of landing a top 4 pick. But get this, if they lose 3.5 more games and they close that gap with Washington, that chance of landing a top 4 pick jumps to 32% chance. So, and this is, this is in credit to the Jump on ESPN. So they broke it down, but you know, you're looking at how that new lottery system is set up, and that it's, you know, they want to I guess discourage a lot of the bottom 4 teams from tanking. So there's a lot more, I guess, you know, advantage to being within those middle teams. So if the Lakers keep tanking, quote unquote tanking, and lose 3.5 more games, they essentially have a 32% chance of landing a top 4 pick. So what do the Lakers do now? I mean, like, there was talk about shutting down LeBron possibly, you know, keeping that wear and tear to a minimum. Or do you try to go all out and see if you can still gun for the playoffs? Like, they're at the point where they're at
no
crossroads.
return, man. This is the point where you go. This is a good question. I think as a GM, though, I would say go for the tank. You got to go for the tank. Like, you have a chance to get Zion Williams. And I hate to say it, even if they get into the playoffs, they're not going to go far this year. The way that's built, like, there's just no way. So if you're really thinking long run, tanking is probably the better option.
You know what? Like, I hate to say this
But I hate
because
to say
I love LeBron. Like, I would say he's top 2 player of all time. The fact that you have LeBron James still putting up like 27, 8, and 8, and you are thinking of tanking, that's like I don't think I would have ever thought that.
Travesty.
Ever. But here we are. And like I don't even know what you do in the offseason because, again, who can they trade for? Who can they go after?
But that's the thing. Like, it's interesting because if they do get a top 4 pick somehow miraculously, you know, we know it's LeBron. He gets everything he wants.
Dude,
if he gets that top 4 pick, then all of a sudden you can start packaging that to get an AD, right? Like, you have that draft pick that's got a lot of value that teams are going to look at.
And they have space next year too. Like, on that point, next year's deal, they only have $65 million under contract. They have a lot of space, man. That's why I'm not too worried about this one year as it is. I think it was always kind of known. Don't expect great things from LeBron this year on the Lakers. It's going to be one tryout year. Give it one more. I think things could really change around, but we'll see.
So you're for tanking?
I think you got to, man. If you're going to look at a
tank or
multi-year-
go for it.
I never condone tanking, but in this situation, I hate the fact that I'm saying this. I can't condone tanking, but you LeBron's minutes are limited. The fact that you're going to use it out on this team.
Okay, Frankie's for
deserve it,
tanking.
man.
Jimmy, what you got?
I say they just play regular because if they play the way they're doing,
They're still
they're
tanking.
just gonna lose anyways, right?
Tank by force.
Honestly, yo.
The thing is, too, if they tank, what kind of example is that setting for not only the younger players that are still on the team, but any other player who is thinking of potentially going to the Lakers? Now you're coming to a team where look at the amount of dysfunction this entire year surrounding the Lakers. Do you really want to be part of that? Paul George didn't. Who else? What KD says, like, no one wants to play with LeBron.
Honestly, like this might be like a hot take. I think as a star, I don't think you should be playing with LeBron at this point in his career.
Like if you're an up and coming star.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
If you're an Anthony Davis.
there's so much spotlight that's going to be brought to you, especially with LeBron. Like if you even watch like the games he's playing, like yes, he's putting up the stats, but when you're watching him, he doesn't have that same gravity he has with back in like a couple years ago, where like if he gets the ball, you're gonna throw a double. Like I've seen people just play him man to man. Beverly,
Shout out Pat Beverly.
Pat Beverly, just shut him down, just hold him scoreless with 20 possessions. Right? If you can have Patrick Beverly hold you down as LeBron, that's saying something, right?
Yeah, I agree. Like he's clearly not the that same player.
He's lost his first step. Even if he tries to drive, he can't really get to the basket as easy, and he always just dishes out. That's why his assists are going up because he just dishes out. But it doesn't do much when you're throwing to Brandon Ingram or Kyle Kuzma or Lonzo Ball, right?
So this is the thing. I agree with you that I don't think there's many stars that would want to play with him. And if that's the case, do you think LeBron never wins a championship for the rest of his career?
Woo!
That could be a big possibility. Like,
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine because he's been there so many times, but this could be like
Does he even make another finals?
this could be like like the downfall.
Wow.
I mean,
low decline. Is this
which
low
is
decline?
which is crazy to think about because you're looking at LeBron, but you're right, man. At some point, every superstar goes through that transition phase. D Wade did, like you look at all the top players that did. 34, man, he's beaten Father Time a lot, but at some point it all catches up. I think just the last point before we wrap this up, I do agree that I think at this point it's hard to say LeBron needs to tank, but he needs to start looking, to the future. Like, and I think we've seen it with just the way, like I said, his demeanor. Like at the end of that Milwaukee game, I was actually really disappointed in how LeBron acted because like there was like 13 seconds left in the game. He literally just started walking off the court. Like you never saw that with LeBron in other seasons, right? Like yes, he'd have a turnover, but he'd come down. He'd try to make that defensive stop to get the ball back. You just don't see that effort in him anymore. And I think when he's checked out, the rest of the team's checked out. So we'll see what the Lakers do for the rest of the season. And speaking of another team that's kind of imploding on their own and facing a lot of drama, we got here we got the Boston Celtics. Man, these guys they had another team, Frankie, to your point about having super high expectations coming into this season. They were supposed to pretty much a favorite to come out the East. We know that it's been a roller coaster ride for them up and down, but since the All-Star break, they've now lost 5 of their last 6. They've lost to Milwaukee, the lowly Chicago Bulls. They lost to Raptors, Portland, Houston. Their lone win during this stretch was against the Washington. So they're sliding now all the way to the 5th spot in the East, which is, for a team like them, they're talented, but home court means something to them. And I think they want to try to position themselves going into this playoff race. And, you look at all these players. We know all the spotlights on Kyrie, just pretty, coming out saying he's overwhelmed by the media, by all these distractions. He doesn't want to be famous. He doesn't want to be a celebrity. Like you could tell he's visibly getting upset and he's visibly kind of disengaged and being detached from his teammates. And then you have Jaylen Brown, another player that's coming out saying that the team environment in that locker room is just kind of becoming toxic. And it's so crazy to think, these two kind of teams, when you're looking at the Lakers and the Celtics, I guess there's so much similarity in terms of LeBron's personality and Kyrie's personality that, like, now you see, a team in Boston that's that's got all the talent in the world, but they just can't put it together. What do you guys think, man? Lots to dissect here. What do you guys think?
I think it's, when you're saying, Kyrie, he came out and said, yeah, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be a celebrity. This guy's made 2 movies in the past 2 years.
Uncle Drew?
And he's making another one. So, like, okay, you
What's
don't
the
want to
third
be
one?
famous.
What's
It's
the
like
third
about a haunted hotel
Yeah,
in
haunted
Oklahoma
hotel.
City.
Yeah.
Come on, Kyrie.
Is he
he's
playing
starring it.
as himself?
I'm pretty sure he's starring in it and he's
He's also
producing it.
it too.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So, like, okay, you don't want to be famous? Don't make a movie, right? Or don't come out and proclaim yourself as the leader of this team and the head of this team when you weren't even there. He wasn't even there in Game 7.
True.
In Eastern
That's
Conference
true.
Finals.
Which is
True.
pretty astounding. I was like, this guy is not showing up for his team in Game 7 against Cleveland, your former team.
It's Kyrie's like such a weird guy. I find. I mean, there's the
whole
whole flat Earth thing. Like again, like I don't think you come out and say those things not knowing that there's going to be backlash, and he's going to be the center of attention on it. And it just seems like beginning of the year he said, "I'm staying to all the season ticket holders in Boston," and now look at the team. Like it's weird to think that he's the leader, and is he even cut out to be a leader? I don't know.
I think that's you raised some really good points, Mitch, and some good insights on how he's flip-flopping on his own words. But I think that's kind of a product of just the expectations on him as well, right? Coming from a team, playing with LeBron, having won a ring, and then going to Boston thinking that, he can be that leader. It just hasn't panned out from that moment. Like, if you can imagine being Kyrie right now, thinking back to that moment where he asked for a trade out of Cleveland. It was all going nice. They could have been on a decent run. Do you think he regrets it, looking back at how this is all panned
100%
out?
he regrets it.
100%. Yeah.
Right? And I think we all realize he's foolish. Like, he's a great he was on the cusp of being one of the greatest point guards. Do you mean there's a time when
He still can be.
He still can be. And I thought under the tutelage of LeBron, this guy is going to LeBron said, "I want to give this kid the blueprint." When LeBron said that, I thought Kyrie's got the potential. He's got all the potential in the world. And to see where he's come from just that point a few years ago to where he is now, I think it's just sad. I think it's sad for all teams. Look at LeBron. No one's happy after that. Like, look at that split. I don't know what triggered that moment, but
you know what they say when you don't know what you're missing until it's gone, right?
Whew.
Like Kyrie feels that right now because when he was with LeBron took so much spotlight that he was still
he balanced him. He protected Kyrie.
Yeah,
yo.
he did.
Kyrie was like, "Oh, I can handle this type of media attention," but that's because LeBron was taking so much media attention that he didn't have that much. But now that he was the main guy in Boston, all the microphones, all the media go to him, question him. Hey, how come the team's not doing well? Why are you committing to the team, et cetera, et cetera? He's kind of giving attitude back to the media because of this, and then you hear reports saying he might go to New York. If he doesn't want cameras and media to be in his face,
Oh my goodness.
why are you going to New York? Because you're gonna get eaten alive if you go to New York, right?
That'd be
New York,
amazing.
New York is like the Toronto Leafs, Maple Leafs of basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
The Mecca,
media,
man.
The
The Mecca.
media is known to drive people out. They drove a lot of people out. Like if you don't want the spotlight, don't go to New York because they'll eat you alive.
Get ready for it.
You're right. I think we all said it. And this is just a classic case of, this is what you wanted. Like, you asked out, you wanted to be the man. This is kind of like when T-Mac left Toronto, right? It's like he was a young buck in Toronto. Like, he wanted his spotlight. He went to Orlando. You are the number one player now. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. And, like, it's crazy. You see that, there's that picture of him sitting at the end of the bench staring at Jaylen Brown. And then, like, in comparison, you have the picture of when LeBron was sitting at the end of the bench staring at Kyrie. It's like, life comes at you fast, man. Like you want the spotlight, you got to be able to handle it. And as a leader, as an individual, when you get that max contract, right? It's not just the money that comes with you. It's that media attention. It's that all that, team responsibility.
I think Boston was a victim of their own success last season. I mean, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward. And, I don't think everyone thought that they'd be good, but no one thought they'd be Eastern Conference Final, ready to go to the finals good, right? And then you add in these, you add in Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. Obviously, no one could have saw what would happen to Gordon Hayward happen. But the fact that, like, the expectation, as Frankie was saying, rose so high so quickly, there was no way that they'd be able to reach that. I think everyone knew there'd be growing pains bring someone like Hayward back into the fold. But
Like-
the fact that like they're this bad,
Like their expectations were so high where they thought the math would, hey, if we already made to the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 with this team, and now we're gonna add Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, we're locked for championship, right? That sometimes doesn't work that way, right?
The thing is, I don't even know if it was an expectations thing or it was literally just these guys are a bunch of talented individuals that just don't have chemistry. Because I think, like, at the end of the day, like, we know Tatum himself, he's a great player. Rozier, he's a baller. Kyrie, like, Hayward, like, we know what these guys have done in the past. Like, it's just weird. It's like, it's kind of like building, like a U.S. dream team. And you're just grabbing the most talented players and you're like, okay, you guys will figure it out. And that's not what makes like a championship team nowadays.
No,
Like, who are the glue guys on the team for real? Like
No, I agree.
Horford?
Horford is probably the
Like
only
Morris?
real glue guy.
Those are-
but there's just not enough to go around, right?
Yeah.
And I think you called it out, man. There's a lot of individual players, not team players.
And they all have egos.
And
but
they
the
all-
thing
oh,
is
yeah.
that their whole thing last year when Kyrie and Hayward weren't there, their whole thing was we are a team, and the way they played definitely showed it. I mean, they went further than anyone would have thought.
That was before they got that success, and then before their ego. But now they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. That boosted up their ego. Like everyone started talking about Rozier balling. They talked about Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Obviously, if their egos got boosted, and then everyone's talking them up like they're the next thing, they're gonna be like, I'm the man now, right?
Yeah.
Before they're the rookie, a sophomore.
So to your point too, like, is it that the Boston Celtics just aren't as good as we thought they were, or is it that all the other top teams in the East just got that much better than them? They just jumped over them and
Good
how
points.
much better
Yeah,
they
good
are.
point too.
And
Yeah.
and maybe Boston isn't actually that bad, but in comparison to the other teams, I mean, the East wasn't deep last year.
It's definitely both. The East has definitely gotten better, like objectively, right? You can clearly see the difference just in terms of the talent at the top level. But Boston hasn't performed to their own expectation, right? That as their own bar, regardless of external teams, they just haven't performed. And I think we all mentioned so many good points, man. The chemistry has just not been there. The bond has not been there. The fact that you hear players like Morris, the fact that Keith comes out and says, we play like individuals. For even him to say that,
He should not be the
yeah, he should not be the guy to be
guy-
keeping
guy.
it real, right? To be keeping it real to you guys, and he is.
Yo, they even had
says a
what
lot.
the rookie? Was it the rookie that came out in a timeout and told everybody to wake the blank up, like in the when the huddles. I forget what his name. I think it's one of the rookies. But like, if you have to have your rookie calling out the vets, be like, yo, what's going on, man? Like, let's play together as a team. We're supposed to be a contender. Like, that's really bad.
Well, we'll see. Honestly, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. They're still fifth seed, 38 and 26. They're potentially slighted up right now to face the Philly 76ers. Winning solves everything, okay? I think at the end of the day, they're definitely going through a lull, but they definitely still have the pieces to do well. Like, who knows? What if they shift into another gear late into the season?
And what if they don't?
Yeah.
Then-
What if their
then we
first
see
round
it.
exit?
Yeah, then we see it. Well, yeah.
and
shit.
then bye Kyrie.
Bye Kyrie, for sure, right? I think that's pretty much it. But who knows, man? I think they still have the potential to kick it to the next gear because they have the talent there. And if they do, winning solves everything.
All right, cool. Yeah, I agree. And I guess, with all this spotlight with Kyrie, one of the things he visibly, came out and said vocally, he said that, all this media attention, whatever, is like, it is affecting his happiness, right? And and that comes on the heels of, what we all saw Adam Silver talk about at the MIT Sports Analytics Conference, which is, he went on the air, he talked about how, NBA players, because of social media, because of all the attention that they're getting from the media, he realized that a lot of players nowadays aren't happy, and it was kind of, I guess, shocking to hear the commissioner of the NBA say something like that. But it's something that I wanted to bring up and we could talk about today is that you look at all these players. There's more money than ever in the league. There's more attention than ever in the league. These players on the surface look like they literally have everything that they want, right? And it's still shocking to come out. When you hear all these different players, we heard DeMar come out saying that he was depressed. We heard Kevin Love saying that he battles anxiety. Like, there's so many stressors of being in the league that's present today, and now we see something like that getting to a player like Kyrie. So like, it is. like, what do you guys think? I guess at the end of the day, is causing like a lot of this happiness in terms of players in the league because, we know that with the brightest spotlights there comes a lot of pressure, and a lot of these players. Is it just something that the fans and the media just don't have visibility to? Is it like, what do you guys think is causing like the unhappiness in the league?
Well, I think that with the fans and everybody else seeing it, they're only seeing it on the surface level. They only see the fame, the money, just basketball, but they don't see the underlying of what's really going on with every player's lives, of what what they're going through. It ties in with all the talk we had about depression and all the other NBA players are going through. But in this day and age, what they say that back, like, this saying has been gone like for years now. More money, more problems, right? Like, you can say all these players are getting paid, right? But does this money equate to happiness? Because then once you add in more money, you're adding more problems with more family coming through asking for handouts. Friends are asking for handouts. Like, people expect you to pay for dinners and everything. Like, this stuff adds up.
It's been a problem too. Like, I forgot what the statistic is, but there's a huge percentage of professional athletes that go broke a few years after leaving or after stop playing.
Antoine Walker.
Yeah, exactly. And like, when you think of that, and when you combine it with the fact that as fans, we're so connected to athletes now. I mean, we can DM a player and they can respond. The fact that you feel like you're so connected, and as players, you're constantly probably like, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're responding back to people. Look at someone like Kevin Durant. He doesn't have to respond to people, but he does. Yet, when fans feel they're so connected, especially on the internet, the first thing they do is, a lot of times, is they're pretty negative. And if you're a young player, you're coming to the league, you're 20 years old, you're not being taught how to deal with this. You've never had to deal with this. And now the entire world is kind of, they're going at you.
So then what do you think, I guess, is because to that point, I agree with you, like, there's more access to the players more so than ever. But is it like a combination of, you think that the players nowadays, because you hear from all these like old guys, like, oh, players are soft nowadays, they're too sensitive. Is it a combination of that, or do you think it's a combination of how the league is structured, in that are they not preparing these players enough to handle this type of media?
I think that's tough to say, because I've looked into that issue, and I feel like the NBA does institute programs to try to help some of their new rookies, some of their new players manage the financial impacts that come, or the financial consequences that come with being an NBA player. Jimmy, Mitch, I think you guys mentioned the great points, right? Like, more money, more problems, 100%. When you're getting $100 million contracts, over multiple years, you're getting more money than your family's ever made, right? You're getting more, like,
at 22,
exactly.
At 23.
Exactly. And to Mitchell's point, again, put yourself at a 19-year-old / 20-year-old rookie, right? That was us not that long ago, and I don't know what you guys, man, but there's definitely no way I could have been able to handle that money. It's so much expectation to have on just a kid at that point in time, to have them fully comprehend the financial consequences of having so much money that's more than generations of you before. The responsibility that comes with it's not fair, right? And I think we've seen that in society beyond just players. Like, it's young superstars, like young music people. Like, it's crazy, because the expectations are just way too much.
I mean, young people everywhere, right? Everywhere.
It
doesn't matter who you are. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we probably don't want to admit it, we spend way too much time on our phones. We spend way too much on social media.
Right? And so think of these individual kids who are in the top 0.1% of the population, where they're making like Justin Bieber money. Like, I always picture that. Justin Bieber was like, 16-year-old making hundreds of $1 millions. Think of these kids.
It broke him.
Yeah, it broke him, right? And it just has not. And we see these stars break down in front of our eyes, right? And it's kind of sad. I hate to say it. I feel like our society does not. We don't treat our talent well. We bombard them with expectation. We bombard them with, like.
But you know what though? Like, even if you look at, say, like, celebrities and like movies and whatever, and the fact that our society is pretty obsessed with celebrities, the fact that people put Kim Kardashian on a pedestal, like,
the fact that she's got a career.
But the thing is, like, I think a lot of it, and again, this could just be me, but a lot of that has to do with the fact people like seeing the rise and they like seeing the fall of people. So you put these people up to see them fall, and unfortunately, you see that happen with so many of these young players. Like, to your point, Frankie, like, even I don't think I've grew up, or it felt like it grew up until you hit like 24, 25.
Dude, not-
Up
and
to that
even
point, you don't
then-
know anything.
Even then, you think you know, but you really don't. The older you get, you're like, wow, I didn't know shit last year.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know about these kids, man. I have trouble managing thousands of dollars. Okay, so for these kids to be managing millions, like think of managing a portfolio of millions of dollars at 20-something years old, right? Like think
It's
of
impossible.
It's impossible to really like. You can have a consultant, you can have an accountant explain it to you, but you don't get it.
But then you think of, to Jimmy's point, you think of all the people who are now surrounding themselves, or who are surrounding that player, being like, hey, you don't know how to do this? You know, I'm the expert. Let me help you. And then you also hear of all these stories of players losing millions of dollars
because of those
because
accountants,
the
right?
exact same thing.
Wrong people to
But
trust.
Frankie,
right?
I want to go to your point where you said, you know, the NBA does help, you know, give these, you know, financial aid just to, you know, tell them how to manage their money. But what about the other aspect of social media, right?
Yeah.
All these kids coming up, they're 20 years old. They're basically grown up with a smartphone, right?
Yeah.
So that's all they've known. So to tell them, hey, you know, like, oh, if people are talking shit about you on social media, on whatever, stay off of it. How can you tell like a kid coming up to stay off social media?
They're starting to. They're
Right?
starting
It's really
to.
hard though. It's really hard. If it's
It
so
is hard.
ingrained in their livelihood, their friends are on it, everyone's on it. It's really hard to say, hey, stay off social media. Don't worry about. Don't read what they say.
Yeah, haters. How do you not
That's
deal
like
with that, right?
that's like
Yeah.
telling Kevin Durant, hey, don't read what the critics say. He's not going to do that, right? He's not going to. He's going to fire back.
For the type of athlete he is too, when it's all about winning, you know, when your whole mentality, the only reason for your success is because you've been winning almost at every level, right? Since you were a kid, you were like the most dominant kid playing amongst all the kids around you. You were like always the number one, winning everything. So when some kid DMs you in the back, starts hating on you, say, hey, bro, you can't shoot, you can't blah, 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 all this type of crap, it's hard to expect them to just not respond, especially when you put them back into a younger age, right? So it's just, I don't envy these kids. Like, the fact that this came out is actually not surprising. You know, are people or NBA players happy? I think it's a sad reality that it's a lot of successful people in our society now are not happy because I don't know.
Because it's just basically, are you winning or losing? And if you're losing, you know, kids aren't going to be happy for losing, right?
Yeah.
There's only one team that wins.
Yeah, it's like you're either going for the championship or you're tanking, right? That's it. Those are the only.
You know what they say?
expectations of
If
any
you're
team.
not first, you're last.
yeah, and that's it. You might as well be the best at getting last so that you have a chance at winning.
Like with all the hate that LeBron gets of, you know, being 3-6 in the finals. If he's not first, he's last. He might as well be like people say, you know, they don't even give him credit that he went to the finals, you know, 9 times.
It's ridiculous.
He lost 6 times. That's all they care about. That's all they care about.
It's true. It's true.
But like even Ben, to your point where you're talking about the older players saying that, you know, all the young players are soft. Like even then, it's like, okay, even if that's what you think, be a role model for these kids and be the person that will be like, hey, let me tell you what this league is really about, instead of calling them out and saying that they're weak.
No, but I think the truth though behind that though is the veterans don't even know what it is anymore. I think
It's
the
true.
league has changed from when they were in it.
But isn't that a problem?
It is a problem. But that's like, again, more money, more problems. The average salary right now is astronomical compared to what the vets were getting paid back in the day. And
I wouldn't even
it's
say. I
life-changing.
wouldn't even say it's because of the money. I would also say it's a huge part to do with the media as well. Because back then, all
100%.
the old heads.
Yeah.
The only way you're gonna get media is read a newspaper.
Yeah.
Back in the day, back like 90s.
Clay still
You know,
reads.
like you're how many sports channels back in the day in the 90s following Jordan? It's like 1 or 2, and then you're gonna have to read the newspaper. Like, but now you can go on YouTube.
24
It's
hours.
like
24 hours,
hours.
man. 24 hour
There's
access, man.
there's like 5 different like basketball like channels that you can watch. There's so many ways of these anchors to just talk about you and criticize you about how you play.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think you know, we all talked about a lot of different factors, and you know, I think it's easy to say more money, more problems. I think it's naturally easy just because of how our society's like wired. Like everybody looks at money, but you know, we heard DeMar come out and say that, you know, he's like, oh, I wish everybody in the world had money, because then they'd realize that money isn't the answer to everything. And it's like, I think one of the things we all touched upon a little bit, and what I think is kind of, I would say the main cause of happiness is probably social media, just because like of the access that it allows everybody to have them, right? Like you look at like the average, maybe like a fan base for a player, you got like how many millions of followers does LeBron have? Even the average NBA player, let's say you got like 1 million people following you. The fact that you have 1 million people hang on to every single word that you say, every like IG story you post, every tweet you post, like we all have emotions, right? And then when you get in those positions, especially as an NBA player, like the roller coasters of a season, the grind of a season, there's gonna be those dark moments. And like when you expose yourself within those dark moments, like we know the NBA, the internet's full of trolls, right? That's when it's hounds, man. They're gonna come at you, they're gonna rip you apart, and that's like I hate to say it, like that comes with the territory a little bit, and that's something I wish the NBA, and I'm sure they are, with their mental health program, is that like that's something I wish that they focus more on, just like preparing people to be like, hey, listen, like you got to be physically strong, mentally strong, but also emotionally strong. And that's we know that anxiety in today's like society like is a main thing. Like mental health is a huge issue, and yeah, I don't know if money. I don't know if money's gonna make it worse. I feel like at the end of the day, money just amplifies.
But the money's not going to go away.
Money's not.
It's only gonna keep
become
going
more,
up. Exactly.
Right? And the fact that yes, the NBA they have that rookie program to try and acclimate rookies like their first few weeks, but like that's not enough. And like I don't know what it is. Maybe you set up some sort of, I don't know, like a mentorship thing. Like I have no idea. What do you do?
But I feel it's like it's our fault too as fans. It is our fault because
100%.
we force all these players to build their brand. And how do you build your brand?
Yep.
To have a social media presence. And what do you do as a team? If you're a team of a up and coming NBA player, you're gonna tell them, hey, you need to be on social media. You need to interact with your fans and all that stuff, right? Like they might not want to, but they're kind of forced to just to just build that fan base.
It's capitalism. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. The NBA is a business about making money. And unfortunately, today's society, social media is a network to get access, right, into what people want, into getting paid.
But the thing is too, but even on that, like yes, social media is super important to build your brand, but on social media, everything that you put out on there is you can look at it. Everything's like this is the ideal life, right?
Yep.
This is
highlights.
This is what I want everyone else to see about me. But then you look at someone like Kevin Durant, who has burner accounts for Twitter to defend himself and attack other players without having his name on it. The fact that someone has to do that, it kind of shows like how much all of this stuff means to them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the fact that when you had I think it was during the Miami run when news came out. Oh, Chris Bosh was showing so much emotion. He was crying that they lost,
And they made fun of him.
People made fun of him.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
That's a sad part of society, right? And I think we mentioned on so many points. I think we all agree, though, one major point is us as fans, right? So shout out to all the people out there. Be better people. You know what I mean? Be better fans.
But I have a question, though. Like, do you think other leagues that aren't as star-driven, that, like they can be in the league, but they can walk down the street and not really, like, still get paid that type of money, not as much, but still get paid a decent amount of money, and not have to worry about all this stress that they have to keep up and like be somebody, as opposed to if you're like someone of like the 10th man on the bench, that you can still walk the streets and be recognized, as opposed to somebody in the NFL or MLB or NHL and not be recognized. You know what I mean? So like, do you think it's because the NBA is forcing such a star-driven league that
But the thing
they need
is,
to have that personality?
it's because they made it so star-driven that the NBA like leapfrogged every other professional sport.
But there's going to be drawbacks because of that, right?
And like we're seeing
Well,
it,
that's what
right?
we're seeing it right now.
seeing
Right?
it.
We're seeing unhappy millionaires, right? Who would have thought?
Like,
Unhappy millionaires.
I think there might be like a martyr where a star, like a young up and coming star.
Yo, Mitch, Jimmy, man, throw some dark words out there.
I'm knocking on wood that he might commit suicide or something, something tragic that's gonna wake up the league.
But honestly, in today's society, do you think that will even matter? Honestly, I think people.
How would it not
We're
matter?
going deep now.
Because
We're
this
going
is the
deep
thing.
now.
Like, I mean, this has happened.
Nah,
So you look at like young celebrities, right, who have like an overdose. And again, this is
common.
no one ever wants to see this stuff. You have maybe like a week of outpouring of love and support for them.
Yeah, you do
What
that
happens
hashtag.
shout out to Vici, man.
Hashtag
Shout out to Vici.
pray for whoever, and then the next day it's
It's like a
done.
society thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, like, that's a good question. It's a good point. Like, what would you rather be? Would you rather be that star, or would you rather be the guy who's still a professional athlete, but you get no recognition?
I think it's tough to say until we're there, right? I think when you're young, when you're great, like
but
some
right
of these
now,
players,
but like you can kind of.
I think us is a bit more removed and even older.
What are you talking about? I'm blowing up.
Yo, I'm
What
blowing
you talking about,
How
son?
about you, man?
You ain't
Staying
see my
low-key.
followers, though?
Yo, staying nice and low key is the way to be, man.
Oh, 100%,
Like, I think
100%.
nice and low key is the way
Nice
to
and
be.
low. Like,
Low
would you
key.
prefer being a
want nobody to
professional
know.
athlete that gets recognized from down the street and make tons of money, or you make tons of money and no one recognizes you at all? You know what I mean? You could be like a billionaire and you walk down the street and probably no one will really know who you are.
Yeah.
Yo, low key.
I mean,
I'd like to be someone like a Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles.
I feel like Joe Ingles can blend
He's
in everywhere.
just a relatable guy, man. He's just a nice,
And yet
relatable guy.
he's a professional athlete making millions of dollars doing the thing that he loves.
Yo, be
Yeah.
a JJ Barea, man. Remember they said they didn't realize he was an NBA player in his home team, right? Which is crazy.
Yo, it was
So he
like
had to get security clearance to get inside, which is ridiculous.
You
man.
guys seen when there's that the Dream Team documentary? How like they were all the players were trapped
John
on the bus,
Stockton?
and
Yeah,
John Stockton just got off,
walks out.
walks
No
out, and no
one
one knew
knows.
who he was. Yo, and yeah, Jimmy, I think to your point, it's I think what the question we really need to ask is like, how much is like your inner peace worth, right? Like, because you're talking about like money's great, but would you rather have like a peaceful life where you're not stressed, you're not like bombarded by the media and everything, like, and you could live your own life independently, and like, yeah, you're right, because I think all this, to what we're talking about is like it goes beyond the NBA, right? We're not just talking about athletes. This is like,
is life.
celebrities, influencers. You're talking about like this is the age of the influencers now. Like everybody's affected by this, and it's real, man. It's real.
So what do you think though? Do you think anything can be done to fix this?
It's a
Is there-
society thing,
is there a
man.
thing to
I think
fix,
I think
Riz?
we've come to a conclusion that I definitely think there's a lot that can objectively be fixed, but the
But will it?
solution, I hope so. As an optimistic person in life, I hope so.
Like the NBA doing something to fix the players' happiness.
Sport is a way to connect with people, man. Sport is a way to bring
No,
societies
but
together.
that's
nations
the thing
together.
though. Like at the in the beginning of when you were young, was a kid, like 8 years old, picked up basketball. You're playing basketball for the
the joy of the game,
for
for the love of the game.
The more you grow up and the more you get better, the more you add competition, then you add the money. It just slowly takes away that happiness, that joy of playing basketball, right?
I think realistically, Mitch, to your point, the only thing the league really can do is to restrict or limit media access to the players to a certain extent.
Why?
Like,
You can't really. That's
because
like censorship,
because
man.
huh?
That's like censorship, man. You
Yeah,
can't.
it is,
no.
but like because like we know it's in the players like emotional states, like in their darkest states, that's when they're the most vulnerable, right? So when a player loses, like we've seen it when Westbrook loses, he's cheese. If a fan comes up to him, media asks him like a stupid question, he's gonna go off.
Yo, Ben.
So
Ben,
like
let me tell you this: you're gonna get 20% more on your bottom line. You're gonna get hundreds of $millions more per year because you offer this exclusive access to your players. These are
I'm not-
assets,
yeah.
on your balance sheet. You telling me you're not as a
I'm
business?
not I'm not
look at
saying
that.
that you're like restricted altogether, but I'm just saying you have to limit it to certain.
But that
like,
means you're just
extent.
cutting money. You're just losing money.
But that's how
to
you
your
protect
bottom
the
line.
players, though.
But isn't that so? Seeing players as assets and not as humans, does that not? Is that not why we're here in this exact?
Yo, Frankie,
situation
you
now?
are part of the problem. Yo.
I'm not. I'm
We
just,
all are, though.
I'm
No,
just,
honestly,
I'm
we
just
are.
trying to
We
voice
all
the
are.
opinion of a corporation.
No, I
right?
agree,
This
I
is
agree.
We all are.
It's the voice of capitalism. We have to keep it real, right? That's what really happens, man. If you're
That's true.
if you're MLSE, if you're the Toronto, when Masai Ujiri traded DeMar DeRozan, why did we do that? It wasn't about being happy. It wasn't about being happy. It was about being a business. It's about winning. It's about the potential of making more money. It had nothing to do with is DeMar DeRozan going to be happy. Right?
So then is the league at fault then? What you're saying?
Are
Like,
we at fault
are they
as fans?
trying to make
Are
more
we
money at
fault
the
as
at the-
fans? You tell me, do we want that trade? Right around the table, who wanted that trade? Looking back at it, I know
Oh,
we
100%.
definitely 100%. We all wanted that trade. Looking back, especially if you look at it right now.
But the thing is, it's more so like because there's a chain, fans want information, and then from that information you get it from the media, and the media gets it from the players. But then if you want to remove that access from getting that information from the media because you want to keep the players happy, like where's the middle ground?
I'm not saying that you remove it altogether. I'm just saying maybe it's like you give them like a 5-minute window to gather themselves.
Man, that's not gonna make a difference.
Listen, yo, that's
Bro.
my suggestion.
Ain't gonna
What
make no
else you got?
difference.
What else you got?
I'm saying
You're gonna run these players to the ground at this point.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we have to be better as people. The real solution is if we are better as
And
people.
see, to me,
that's the only way.
if that's the solution, this isn't getting fixed anytime soon.
Exactly.
It's only going to
It's
get
not
worse.
the NBA.
Because this is the thing too. Like if you start, someone like Kyrie, he's like, I don't want to do this. Or KD says, I don't want to talk to the media. I don't want to talk to you guys. If he doesn't want to do it, someone else will. And if that person doesn't want to do it, another person will. I think like for the general fan, they would love to be in their shoes.
But that's the thing, though. If as a player, if you say, hey, I'm not feeling good right now. I'm in a bad mood. Can I skip media obligation? And then they're like, you can't. You gotta talk to the media.
True.
Right? Like if you're having a bad day, shit hit the fan at work, and then you have like people,
Something to do, yeah.
someone's asking you all these mundane questions like, hey, why did you mess up today? Or why did these?
Where are you
problems
going
happen?
next year, Mitch? Why aren't you resigning your max contract,
and you
Mitch?
guys
Feel the
are-
pressure
Huh?
right now. I'm telling you, feel the pressure right now.
Right? Exactly. So can you imagine that? And this is not just at the post conferences, right? This is 24 hours of the day. This is on social media. This is on morning talk show radios. This is on phone calls with interviews that are constantly at you. There are thousands of people constantly saying, hey, do you have 5 minutes? You have an interview for 5 minutes? And like they're asking you these type of questions, right? We get stressed about it on a common day, dealing with our own careers. Imagine these people that are skilled up on just a different level.
And you know what's crazy too? Like if you really think about it, say you follow these, these apps. Say you follow LeBron James on Instagram.
I follow
right?
LeBron.
You're like
I
one of
follow
the
LeBron.
millions of followers that he has, and you're like, oh, LeBron did this today. I know LeBron.
I'm connected with him.
You're
He's my
connected.
boy.
You
He's my
don't
boy.
know LeBron.
But you
No-
feel like you do.
You know,
though.
you know
know
what
what I
he
mean?
wants you to know.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
that's
it
the
is.
thing, though. It's like if we feel like we know these players so much now, yet we know nothing about them.
We don't
so
know the struggles
it's
either.
just kind of it keeps self-perpetuating this vicious cycle where we think we know these people and we don't, but we think we know them enough to now call them out on stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think maybe like
It's one-sided, right?
yeah.
It's
Maybe
100%
maybe
one-sided.
it's a transparency issue. That's a good
And,
point.
and if
'cause,
they
like,
and if they come back to you and now it's a two-way street, now it's like, oh, why are you getting mad? Or why are you
they'll-
reacting that way?
Or they'll just call, or they'll screenshot your conversation and
Exactly.
put you on blast.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Well,
win. You can't
you
win
can't
as an athlete. You can't win.
so 'cause I agree with you. I think there might be something there in that, like, is it an issue with the players where they're not being transparent enough about what causes them anxiety and stress? Because like you look at a player like DeMar now that he's come out and publicly said that.
Then you know how hard that is to do, man. Expecting people to come out with their most intimate fears, their personal struggles. Just say, hey,
but look
hey,
what happens when they don't.
it's tough, and that's another fault of our society, right? We don't encourage the most honest dialogue because people will judge us. We're worried that, hey, you come up with the fact that, hey, I'm kind of afraid, I have some mental anxiety. Jordan didn't have any mental anxiety. He was a winner. That's how he felt. He never doubted himself, and that's the definition of a winner. That's the definition of a leader.
Mamba mentality.
Mamba mentality, right? Is that kind of the fall of like Kobe too? Right? He was about being ruthless, right? Kobe was all about winning. Right? He never struggled mentally. He never had a day where he was a little bit depressed.
So realistically, taking what you just said, realistically, the older players, yes, they didn't get paid as much, but no one can go back and scrutinize them for anything that they did at this point.
I can't.
It's
There's no proof. Like how can you go back and be like, what did he do on his off season in 1998? You know what I mean? Like there's no proof. You can anytime with a smartphone or anything that's
data is
recorded.
everywhere now. Data.
Nothing's getting removed off the internet. Whatever you say on
Internet
Twitter,
is forever. Yeah.
But these
that
guys
shit will
are,
get pulled up.
and these guys though are now considered legends in the game, and they will always be a legend, right? It's just, I don't know.
I think it all comes down to the expansion of social media and how it's probably in the long run going to do more harm than good to our society.
Some dark.
It's not even long run, man. It's
social
the
media's
current
only-
run. It's
Right?
right now.
Well, I mean, like we can see, like us, our generation, we've grown from
Before the internet.
We're in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Because we've seen what it was before, and we're dealing with what it is now. Anyone but after us, they only know the
This
social
life is
media game, right?
Sure.
Post internet.
Right?
True. If it ain't online, it didn't
Like
happen.
we've seen both sides. We've seen, hey, back in the day when we were kids, we'd ride our bikes to someone's house just to check if they can come out to play. Nowadays, it's like, hey, you want to go on play online and play some games. as opposed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We used to do street hockey on the street, man. We used to do hockey on the street,
That's
man.
just gone, man.
We used to go to the rec center. Now kids just got their phones.
You
They're
can play
connected
NBA.
instantly, man.
Yeah,
2K.
right? Like,
Across the world, man. You could be in China. You could be wherever, yeah.
yeah, man.
The world's different, man. The world's different.
Yeah, it is wild, man. It's wild. All right, yeah, I know we can go on, kind of forever about this, but we're curious. Yeah, the listeners out there, chime in on this. We're curious to know what you guys think. Obviously, like we said, this isn't something that's just related to athletes. We know this is related to everything that's going on in the society that we know today. So, yeah, I guess we'll keep posted. And we'll see what NBA does in terms of developing that mental health program. Okay, so for us, let's switch it up now. Let's get serious, man. Let's talk about 3 upcoming games next week.
So you're saying that what we were talking about wasn't serious?
Real talk.
Yo,
back
this
to
is
basketball.
now we're talking game, yo.
All right, let's
we
lighten
talking game
things
now.
up.
Let's
lighten
go.
things up.
No,
you still owe us though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yo.
what you talking about, yo?
Yo,
Let's
man.
go back to 1998. Let me see these audits, yo. Let me see these.
We're gonna shout out Chat Time, our official sponsor, our
Shout
number one
out
unofficial
Chat Time.
sponsor.
All right,
Yeah,
what
we gotta
do
get
got? What
we
do
gotta
you
get
got?
that money. All right, so we got 3 games. First one, Saturday, March 9th. So the coming Saturday, we got Boston at LA. We just talked about 2 teams that are reeling and dealing. What we got, man? This is in LA. What you guys feeling on this one?
I'm gonna say LeBron James on this one. When little brother, your little kid that you took care of for all these years comes back to town, you're gonna put on a show. You're gonna teach Kyrie how it's done. LeBron's gonna take this one.
Okay.
Hands down.
I'm gonna go with Frankie too. I'm gonna say Lakers. I think they just need to do something, and this is the game.
Just gonna let out on them, man. Just gonna let it out, yeah.
Yo, they're already gonna be in full tank mode by then. Jimmy,
Who's home?
LA.
Lakers. I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna go Boston.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, man. Lakers, honestly, right now, just seeing how the Lakers have played the last couple of weeks, even at home, man, none saving them, man. Like Snoop Dogg, yo, ship everybody, ship the damn team right now.
So you going Boston?
I'm going Boston. I'm running with this. And then we got Sunday, Indiana at Philly. This is gonna be a great match here.
It's a good matchup, man. The number 3 and the number 4 seed in the East, half a game beside each other. It'll be a good matchup, fighting for seeding. I gotta go with Philly. I think it's entering, final stretch. Joel Embiid should be healthy by this point.
Yeah,
I think he takes this one.
he's still injured, right?
He's still injured, but I think he comes back for this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Philly on this one. They're at home. They have a really good home record, so I think they're gonna take it.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go Pacers because these points don't matter. So so I can just pick
Glad
whoever
you
I want,
know,
right?
Jimmy. Glad you know,
Right? I'm
Jimmy.
just keeping it real, right? These don't matter, right?
Yeah,
Shoot his shot, yo. Shoot his shot.
yeah, shot in the dark, man. I like Indiana. I think they're still flying under the radar. Like, Wes Matthews has been playing well for them. All these guys are playing well, but I like Philly, man. I think Philly's gonna pick this one up. All right, and then the last one we got Monday. This is Detroit at Brooklyn.
Yo,
Two teams in the East.
I gotta
man.
go with Brooklyn, man. That's my team. That's my team.
Brooklyn.
This is a good matchup,
That's my
man.
team.
Against 6-7 seed right now. Tight in the East.
D'Lo.
I got to go with Jimmy on this one, man. D'Lo has just been on a stretch. Even though Blake Griffin has been really solid, I think D'Lo's just you're taking the team together, man. Karis LeVert coming back healthy. Shout out to that kid. The fact that he came back and he's putting up numbers right now, good
Has
for
he
him,
been
man.
doing well since he's been back?
Not the
He's
same.
been okay.
Not the same.
Offense is not there yet, but
The fact that he's
Still getting his
playing.
legs, yeah.
The
true.
fact that he's playing. This guy drank a lot of milk, man. Shout out.
Got milk, yo. Got milk.
I'm gonna go.
he needs some milk.
I'm going Pistons on this. I think Karis LeVert's back, but Dinwiddie's back too. And
Is
they're-
he?
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out the minutes. I think
Mhm.
so. I'm gonna go Pistons on this.
I'll go Detroit on this one too. I think they're really starting to click to what are they 8-2 in the last 10? I think they got that huge win against the Raptors. Speaking of which, Dwayne Casey, man, really you gotta be taking shots at the Raptors like that, man. Talk about no
It's the truth,
championship
though.
banner.
It's the truth.
Yeah, but who was the head coach? He was the guy that was
No,
leading
he was
the
the coach, but I mean we don't
He's
have a
taking some
championship.
responsibility himself too. I
No, it's fair. It's fair. All right, cool. And I guess we got those picks locked in. Keep it posted on our social media. I guess we shouldn't be promoting our social media that much because it's
No,
causing
we're
anxiety.
not players.
We're not part of the problem.
Yo,
We're the solution.
We need those followers though. Yo,
Get
give us
those followers out. You know, we trying to get paid. We trying to be the miserable millionaires right now, yo. Trying to get in that tax bracket. All right, cool. And then also we got our website, mobucketspodcast.com. Oh, we got a couple of good articles that we posted up. You know, the aftermath of the trades, you know, how teams are doing so far. So check those out. And as always, you know where to find us. Like I said, social media, we're around. Holler at us. Let us know about your takes on, you know, our main discussion, something that, you know, we're curious to know and we want to genuinely follow. So with that said, you guys got anything else?
Yeah, Dwayne Casey, we'll see you in the playoffs.
Bring
that ass.
We'll break that ass. First round. Yeah, it's gonna be wild if we face them though. It's gonna be
Good
wild.
matchup, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's it for this week. We will see you guys next time. Until then, keep gaining buckets. Peace.